Welcome to Amazing Stories Untapped. May I ask you a question tonight? Maybe two questions. Are you afraid of something? And if so, what are you afraid of? We all have some boogeyman that we are facing. My daughter she's going to have a radical surgery next week for cancer. I talked to a relative today who's facing bankruptcy. May lose everything. Sometimes fear is helpful because it keeps us from harm. But many times, it's an inner voice that keeps us stuck, that keeps us paralyzed from moving forward. It was Rudyard Kipling, the great author, who wrote, "Of all the liars in the world, fear is sometimes the worst." The truth is that fear is most often false evidence that appears real. 95% of the things we fear never come to pass. So how do we overcome fear? Well, I've got a great answer tonight. But first, an amazing story about someone who was overcome by fear. I call it the longest standing army in the world. And it was the longest standing army in history. For more than 2,200 years, these 8,000 soldiers have stood their ground, rock solid, vigilant. They peer through stony eyes that have never flinched, have never closed once. They're as ready for battle as the first day they stood on parade ground. Fierce cavalrymen on war horses, archers with their bows perpetually cocked, artillerymen pulling catapults, speedy chariots being driven by charioteers, and auxiliary servants and civilians who go with them. Now, there was a time, long ago, when their uniforms were beautiful and bright. Each piece of their armor was superbly crafted. Their faces were golden bronze 2,000 years ago, but time has grayed their uniforms and their faces. They still stand guard against demons, against other evil spirits that come in the night. But they have never once taken a break. Never once have those 8,000 soldiers eaten a meal or gone on furlough. No army has ever been more faithful to their mission. Yet the world did not know about this amazing army until 1974, when Chinese farmers digging a well discovered their hiding place. More than 2 millennia have come and gone, while the terracotta soldiers stood at attention. Now, the reason for their existence and the staggering conceit of the emperor who created them is a tale worth telling and remembering. Qin Shi Huang, founder of the Qin dynasty, had unified China after years of civil war to become its first emperor in the year 221 BC. He built cities and monuments to his glory. And then he began the first version of China's Great Wall. But the mausoleum that he built near the city of Xi'an is the greatest monument to his towering ego. Though it was never finished, it is the biggest burial complex in the history of the world. 700,000 artisans and laborers worked for some 30 years to build and fill a 20-mile square compound with that massive army of 8,000 life-size soldiers, each crafted in exacting detail. Every aspect of a fully equipped army was duplicated down to the smallest detail in clay. The weapons, the food for the storehouse for these lifeless soldiers was created. Why this Herculean labor, this monumental expense which took the lives of almost 1 million people? Emperor Qin Shi Huang wanted an army to accompany him into the afterlife. Though he could rule his own world, the underworld was beyond his control. So he figured that a terracotta army made out of clay, without human emotions, without human fears, could be trusted to guard him through his eternal journey. No matter what spirits, what demons, what gods, what monsters might come to attack him, these 8,000 terracotta army would be there to guard him. Of course, the irony is that though they still stand, he is now turned to dust. His body remains in the ground. See, all of us will enter afterlife, emperor and commoner alike. All of us will go naked to face God. But we don't have to go naked and alone with fear, nor do we need an army to protect us. Not terracotta, not human, not angelic. Jesus is enough. And if Jesus goes with us, we don't have to fear anything. We don't have to go anywhere afraid. Even death should not cause us fear. It was David who said in the 23rd Psalm, "Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me, Lord. My good shepherd's staff and rod will keep me. He will prepare a table for me in the presence of my enemies. He will anoint my head with the oil of peace. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life as he leads me through all of the fearful places of my life." And so to that emperor who built an 8,000 clay army, that terracotta army, to all the rest of us who try to build the superstructures of our life, who try to surround ourselves with money and security and the affirmation of friends to help us get through the tough times, to all of us who are afraid of the future, I would say this: the one person you need is Jesus Christ. Before he left this earth, he said to his disciples, he said, "Hey, I'm with you. I'll be with you every day of history until the end of the world." So that's the first thing I want to say. That's the greatest thing you need to do, is to have someone who will never leave you, who will never forsake you, who will always be with you, who's bigger than anything you face. St. Paul said, I can do all things through Jesus Christ who gives me strength. We really can. The other thing I'd like to tell you about is don't let tomorrow steal from your today. Don't let all the worries about what you're going to face tomorrow, the anxiety, the fear, lead to panic that will keep you awake tonight, so that today and tonight you won't get the most out of this moment. Don't let yesterday, with all the mistakes, all the things that went wrong, all your shortcomings, all the things you wish would have been better, all the things you didn't do better, don't let those things paralyze you today with regret and guilt. You know, Jesus died on a cross to take care of all those past things. Because he did that, you can know he's going to take care of all of your future things. And so, don't worry about tomorrow. Jesus is in your tomorrow, taking care of that. Don't worry about yesterday. He's coming behind you, cleaning up all of that. You just live for today without fear, enjoying the one who walks next to you. I hope tonight you feel his arms around you. I hope you feel him walking with you. If you do, you have nothing to fear. Well, good being with you. I hope to see you again on Thursday at 12:50 East Coast time, East Coast U.S. time, for another amazing story unwrapped.